Fusion calendar is live, so you know what that means. We'll be breaking it down for you. Welcome in. My name is PJ, and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. And today we'll be taking a look at the Fusion, and more specifically, the calendar. So let's do a brief overlook, and then we'll kind of break it down a little bit more in depth. But he is a HP-based spirit nuker for Shadowkin. You can see here there's 130 total fragments up for available, but 20 of those is from winning tournaments, so you have to win the champion training to get those. So we're not going to be counting those. So there's really 110 fragments available. You can skip 10 fragments and still get the fusion, but if you skip more than that, then you might be in a little bit of a bad situation. They do sell you fragments at the end of the fusion, depending on how much you miss. I think if it's 50 or less that you need, then they will offer you and sell you the remaining. So that is one thing that you could think of doing if you don't want to do one of the champion trainings, or if you just miss something and you're 95 out of 100, they will sell you that last couple. So keep that in mind, but let's take an overall look. Hold up guys, now is the perfect time to click on my link in the description and get a free Karato as well as 4 more insane free epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Step 1, log out a player and play on PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid and complete the tutorial. Step 4, go to the inbox and claim your first champion. Don't miss out on your chance to get a free Karato after signing up, as well as Uugo, Rector Drath, Tagoar, and Mausoleum Mage as you progress through the game. So click on my link right now and let's crush this together. For champion training, it looks like there's 1 champion training, just 2 champion trainings, pretty standard. The dungeon divers, I do see 3, so 1 dungeon diver, 2 dungeon divers, 3 dungeon divers, so that is a little bit rough. They have been kind of doing 2 DDs and then an optional 3rd one where it'd be like a dungeon divers mixed with a summoning event, so you can kind of do 2 with 1 thing. But with this one, it looks like there's no hero's path. It's just going to be more of a traditional one, so 3 DDs. A little rough, but hopefully they will overlap with some things. It looks like there is only 2 classic arena tournaments, if I'm not mistaken. 1 classic arena tournament, classic arena 2, so only 2. There are 2 summoning events, a summon rush and a champion chase, so keep that in mind. You're gonna most likely, you're gonna have to do both of them. It's just do 10 and then skip to 5, or we can talk about that more, but you're gonna have to, it looks like, do both of the summoning events, which kind of stinks, but we will talk about that here in a second. So let's start off with Monday. So that's today, Monday the 5th. I wouldn't really go too hard because they didn't overlap the DD to start with the dragon, which kind of stinks. So wait a little bit and you can start double dipping, maybe even triple dipping if you have food farming in the dragon, which a lot of people do depending on the team they have. So you could triple dip there, which is really nice. Also Tuesday, Wednesday, there is a CVC, personal reward CVC, so you can kind of double dip with that. The only downside about doing dragon and CVC is you actually get less points. So if you guys haven't noticed this or seen this, but dragon gives you half the amount of points that every other pretty much major dungeon gives. Sorry, my nose is itchy. If you see here, Ice Golem hard 400, Fire Knight hard, we're looking at the max level here. So best stage 10, 400, Spider 400, Event Dungeon 400, Sand Devil, the highest stage 25, 400, Phantom Shogun 400, Iron Twins 400. Now let's take a look at Little Old Dragon. 200. So this is like a really old thing. This has been around for forever. Not really sure too much of why this is a thing. I'm assuming they think that dragon's more of the early game dungeon, so they didn't want to give more points to the early game dungeon. I don't know. I really don't think there's a good enough reason to have this. I think they should make it 400 like every other dungeon that's comparable to it. So, but with that being said, so because it's personal reward CVC, I don't really want to waste energy by farming dragon because I'm getting half the amount of points. So I might try to do a little bit of the dragon tournament early and do some of it with the CVC, but then also do Spider or Sand Devil or Shogun where I'll be getting more points for the similar energy. So that is a little bit of a downside. I don't really like how they started this with dragon. I wish this was Spider or literally any other dungeon besides a dragon. Fire Knight, Spider, Ice Golem would have all been way better because they give you the max amount of 400 for the highest stage. Dragon, they cut in half. So that's kind of shady. I really don't like that part, but they do give you some double dipping. And now, like I said, I'd wait for the DD to really go hard if you're needing this. I'm probably gonna go hard with Spider and do a little bit with the dragon early. This also is going to give you some silver for gear enhancement. This is also going to overlap with CVC, so if you need to do some gear enhancing, wait till the second day of CVC to get some points with that. Ice Golem is going to overlap with the first Dungeon Divers and also the second Dungeon Divers, so depending on how hard you're going for the dragon or how hard you're doing Spider or CVC, then you might be able to save this Ice Golem for the second DD and not worry about it for the first part, which would be pretty nice. You have the first Classic Arena Tournament, which is easy, just try to farm the easy teams, the 1 teams. Summon Rush. So this is the first summoning event. I would try to save Sacreds. Sacreds are the best way to complete the Summon Rush because it's a set amount of points. It's 500 points per pull. Doesn't matter if you get a legendary or an epic. It's just based off of the value of the shard. So try to save Sacreds 6 to 8 probably, I would say, in that ballpark. Maybe, yeah, probably closer to around like 6 to 7 is, I would say, a good estimate. And then that comes to the champion training. So champion training, if you have a spider where you can do spider with also get some food, you could wait a little bit and double dip with the champion training spider and the DD all at the same time. So you can triple dip here, which is amazing. That will also get you silver for the second gear enhancement. The gear enhancements are going to roughly cost you 15-ish million silver. So try to be prepared for that. If you guys are coming into the fusion with not much silver, try to get around 10 to 15. And then as you're doing these dungeon events, you'll also be getting silver as well. So that will help you. That brings us to the third Dungeon Divers, which pretty much overlaps with the end of the Spider and then the start of the Fire Knight. So again, depending on how much of the Ice Golem you did, how much you did for the first DD, you can do this for the second one, do the Spider with the second one, or you could do the Spider with the third DD and overlap with the Fire Knight. Really depending on how your resources are and how much you're trying to do. But like I said, trying to double dip, triple dip as much as possible is going to be the best way to complete these fusions. So Champion Chase is going to be probably a little bit harder, but also easier depending on where you are in the game. If you have a lot of fragments summoned saved up, like previous fusions, a previous fragment fusion, like this dude would be a perfect example. You can pull during the champion chase, get points. If you have remnants saved up, you can pull remnants. If you have Broadma fusions, if you're getting Lydia, if you're getting Mikage, anything like that, you can get points for the champion chase. So you could be easier to get points, but also could be harder. Because if you don't have those things and you just have Sacreds is really rough pulling during a champion chase because it's based off of what champion you pull, not based off of the shard type it is, like the Summon Rush. So Sacreds, if you're pulling epics, which you're most likely going to be pulling epics for Sacreds, you're going to be getting 250 versus the 500 where it would be worth for the Summon Rush. So you want to be really careful using Sacreds during champion chase. Usually Ancients or remnants, trying to save other ways to get points for the champion chase is one of the biggest tips I think of helping to save shards. Yeah, not actually use shards during that and use other resources, other ways to get points and not just straight up shards, especially Sacreds. Would really try to save the Sacreds. So one thing you could do is they're probably going to be separated into 5 fragments and 10 fragments. And because you can skip 10, you could try to just get the first 5 and then skip the last 10 and do everything else. But the way that this fusion is set up is you're going to have to, like I said earlier, do both Summon Rushes regardless. It's just depending on how much you want to do of the Summon Rush. You could also do both Summon Rushes, skip a champion training. You could do both Summon Rushes and skip 2 Dungeon Divers. So there are various ways to tackle this depending on what kind of resources you have and what kind of resources you don't have. Like if you have a lot of energy, don't have a lot of shards, then maybe it'd be better to just get the 5 and skip the rest of the 10 and do everything else. Let's say you have a lot of shards and not a lot of energy, then maybe for you it'd be better to do both of the summon events and then skip the champion training or skip the dungeon divers because you know that's going to cost you a lot of energy. So at the end of the day, it really depends on your account and what kind of resources you have and don't have. Overall, I would say this is not the easiest of fusions just because they are kind of forcing you to do both of the summoning events. It's kind of nice when you can go all in on one of the events and then skip the other summon event like they did the last fusion. The last fusion, they had a summon rush and then they also had a hero's path. You could skip the first summon rush and then go all in the hero's path is what I decided to do. Sadly, this is not one of those, but generally, fragment fusions are a little bit easier, so hopefully the points won't be too high and too unrealistic because I think the people that need this fusion or that would actually benefit from this fusion are gonna be more early game, mid game players, where the late game, end game players that can get this dude very easily are probably gonna not use him. And the only reason why they would use him would probably be for hard faction wars coming out if he does some type of trials or helps complete challenges there. But generally, I don't think he's gonna be that useful for a late game, end game player. The other thing I mentioned earlier is there's no hero's path, which generally they have a soul for. So maybe they'll do an event after him for the soul, or maybe they won't do a soul at all, which would be kind of weird. They've generally be having soul side into these events. So who knows, they have, like I said in the past, not done any souls for the fusions, but it's kind of rare. I'd say it's more rare for them to not have a soul than for them to do an event for the soul. So that'd be a little weird if they didn't. Maybe there's going to be a Titan event week down the line after the fusion. Generally, those would be more for better fusions though. I think they like to kind of make the process a little bit longer the better the fusion is, to milk more resources out of the player base. If it's not a great fusion in their mind, I feel like, or in their eyes, they do more of a 1 or 2 day event versus 2 week, 3 week event. So let me know what you guys think of this fusion. If you guys are going for them, not going for them. I think a lot of guys are going to be skipping or going to be doing part of them and going for mod. I really don't like doing that. I think I'd rather just do the whole fusion instead of doing half of it, but I definitely see the point of view of, well, he's not good, mod's pretty good, so might as well get some points and put it into mod. What you guys think? I'm doing them. I think it'll be okay. Faction war is hard, and we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day/night. Hit that comment, leave a like, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.